Captain Juan stood on the bridge of the UES Leviathan, watching the stars through the massive viewing window. The ship moved through space like a silent giant, its 15-kilometer hull cutting through the darkness without making a sound. Around him, 200 crew members worked at their stations, their faces lit by soft blue lights from their control panels. The Leviathan was not like other ships. It was a city that could fly between the stars. Inside its metal walls lived nearly 3 million people. Some were soldiers, some were scientists, and some were families who had made this giant ship their home. Children played in parks built inside the ship's belly while their parents worked to keep humanity safe. Dr. Nari walked up to Captain Juan, her tablet glowing with new data. She was the ship's chief science officer, a woman who understood alien life better than anyone else on the ship. Her dark eyes showed worry as she looked at the information on her screen. "Captain, we are getting strange signals from deep space," she said, keeping her voice low so others would not hear. "These are not natural. Something made them." Juan turned to face her. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had been captain of the Leviathan for 8 years, ever since the ship first flew. In all that time, they had never met anyone else among the stars. "Show me," he said. Dr. Nari touched her tablet, and the data appeared on the main screen. Waves of energy moved across the display in patterns that looked almost like music. But this was not music. This was something trying to talk. "How far away?" Juan asked. 3 days at our current speed," Dr. Nari replied. "But Captain, there is something else. These signals are very strong. Whatever is making them must be huge." Commander Day joined them at the front of the bridge. He was younger than the captain, with sharp features and quick eyes that never missed anything. As the ship's first officer, it was his job to keep everyone ready for trouble. "Sir, our long-range sensors are picking up more than just signals," Day said. "There are objects out there. Many objects. They are moving together like a fleet." The 3 officers looked at each other. For over 100 years, humans had traveled to other worlds. They had built colonies on 17 different planets and created homes among the stars. But they had always been alone. They had always been the only ones who could think and build and dream. Now it seemed they were not alone anymore. "How many objects?" Juan asked. "Over 200, sir. They are big, but not as big as us." Captain Juan nodded slowly. The Leviathan was the largest ship ever built by human hands. It was also the most powerful. Hidden inside its hull were weapons that could destroy planets and shields that could stop almost anything. But it was also home to millions of people who trusted him to keep them safe. "Call Engineer Bomb to the bridge," Juan ordered, "and send word to Earth Command. Tell them we may have found what we have been looking for." Bomb arrived 10 minutes later, wiping oil from her hands with a dirty cloth. She was the chief engineer, the person who understood every bolt and wire in the giant ship. Her clothes were always dirty because she spent most of her time in the engine rooms, making sure everything worked perfectly. "Captain, you called for me?" she said, trying to clean her hands. "Bomb, I need to know if the ship is ready for anything," Juan said. "Everything. Weapons, shields, engines. Can we fight if we need to?" Bomb smiled. "Sir, the ship was built for war. Our quantum reactors are running at full power. Our adaptive armor can stop anything these aliens might throw at us. And our weapon," she paused, "our weapons can break apart atoms themselves." Dr. Nari looked worried. "Captain, maybe they come in peace. We should try to talk to them first." "I hope you are right," Juan said, "but we must be ready for anything." The captain walked to the center of the bridge and pressed a button. His voice went out to every part of the huge ship, reaching every person who lived inside its walls. "This is Captain Juan speaking to all crew and civilians. Today we may meet other intelligent life for the first time in human history. We do not know if they come as friends or enemies. We will hope for friends but prepare for enemies. Stay calm, follow orders, and trust in this ship and each other. We are humans, and we protect our own." All across the Leviathan, people stopped what they were doing and listened. In the schools, teachers told children not to worry. In the farms that fed the ship, workers kept growing food. In the weapons rooms, soldiers checked their equipment. Everyone knew their job and everyone was ready. Dr. Nari worked with her team to learn more about the alien signals. She discovered that the aliens were trying to communicate, but their language was completely different from any human language. Still, she could tell they were intelligent. They used math and science in ways that showed they understood the universe. Commander Day studied the movement of the alien ships. They flew in perfect formation like soldiers who had trained together for many years. Their technology seemed advanced, but not more advanced than human technology. Maybe they were equals. Maybe they could be friends. Engineer Baum went deep into the ship to check the weapons one more time. The Leviathan carried weapons that most humans had never seen. There were beam weapons that could cut through any metal. There were missiles that could chase targets across star systems. And there was something else, something so powerful that it had never been tested in battle. As the hours passed, the alien fleet came closer. Soon, their ships would reach the human colony on New Busan, a peaceful world where 2 million humans had built farms and cities under an orange sun. Captain Juan stood on his bridge and waited. Whatever happened next would change everything. Humans had been alone in the galaxy for so long that they had almost forgotten they might not be the only ones who could build ships and cross the stars. The aliens were coming, and the galaxy would never be the same. Fleet Marshal Vextar stood in the command center of his flagship, watching the star charts with cold eyes. He was tall and thin, with purple skin that showed his high rank in the galactic hegemony. For 400 years he had served the Empire, conquering world after world for the glory of his people. The 7th Expansion Fleet moved through space like a pack of hunters. 200 warships flew in perfect formation, their dark hulls gleaming under the light of distant stars. Each ship carried thousands of soldiers and enough weapons to destroy entire cities. This fleet had never lost a battle. Sub-Admiral Quindal approached the fleet marshal, her steps careful and quiet. She was younger than Vextar, with green markings on her face that showed she came from a peaceful world. Unlike her commander, she believed in talking before fighting. "Sir, we are approaching the primitive system," she said, reading from her datapad. "The species calls themselves humans and their world Earth. Our scouts say they have only recently learned to travel between stars." Vextar laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "How recently?" "Less than 200 of their years, sir. They have built small colonies on a few nearby worlds, but their largest ships are tiny. Compared to ours, their technology appears to be very basic." "Perfect," the fleet marshal said. "Another easy conquest. How many ships do they have?" Battle Coordinator Thelmos looked up from his station. He was a soldier who loved war more than anything else. His red eyes gleamed with excitement as he spoke. "Our long-range scans show maybe 30 ships total, sir. All of them are less than 2 kilometers long. Most are much smaller. They appear to use primitive fusion engines and basic weapons." Vextar nodded with satisfaction. For 3,000 years, the galactic hegemony had ruled this part of space. They had a simple way of dealing with new species. First, they would show their strength. Then they would demand surrender. Most species gave up without a fight when they saw how powerful the hegemony was. Those who refused to surrender were destroyed. "What do we know about these humans?" Vextar asked. Quindal read from her files. "They appear to be a warrior species, but not very advanced. They fight among themselves often, which shows they are not united. They live on many different worlds, but seem to have one main government. They use radio waves to communicate, which is very primitive. Any special abilities? Some species can read minds or control energy with their thoughts." "No, sir. They appear to be completely normal. Just another young species that learned to build metal ships and fly to other worlds. Nothing special about them at all." Vextar was pleased. Easy conquest meant less damage to his fleet and more glory for himself. The hegemony always needed new worlds to feed its vast empire. These humans would become workers in the great machine of galactic civilization. "Set course for their colony world," he ordered. "The one they call New Busan. We will give them the standard demonstration." The fleet changed direction, moving toward the human colony like a dark cloud. Each ship was a masterpiece of alien engineering, built for war and conquest. The smallest ships were 800 meters long and carried enough firepower to level mountains. The largest, including Vextar's flagship, stretched over 3 kilometers and could fight entire planetary defense fleets alone. As they traveled, Thelmos studied the human defenses around New Busan. What he saw made him laugh. "Sir, their defenses are pathetic," he reported. "A few small space stations with basic weapons. Some orbital platforms that barely qualify as military targets. They have maybe 20 ships in the system, and most of those are cargo vessels." "How many people live on this world?" Quindal asked. "About 2 million according to our scans. They have built cities and farms, but nothing that looks like major military installations." Vextar smiled. 2 million people would make excellent workers for the hegemony's mining operations. This conquest would be profitable as well as easy. 3 days later, the hegemony fleet arrived at New Busan. The human colony world hung in space like a blue and green jewel, its surface covered with oceans and continents. Cities sparkled on the night side while farms and forests covered the day side. Open communication channels, Vextar ordered. Let us see how these primitives react to real power. The fleet spread out around the planet, their weapons pointed downward. It was a sight that had terrified hundreds of species across the galaxy. 200 warships, each one capable of destroying continents, floating in the darkness above a peaceful world. Vextar's image appeared on every communication device on New Busan. He spoke in the universal language that all space-traveling species eventually learned. Attention, creatures of this world. I am Fleet Marshal Vextar of the Galactic Hegemony's 7th Expansion Fleet. Your species has been selected for integration into our empire. You will surrender all military forces immediately. You will provide us with complete technical data on all your technology. You will prepare your population for relocation to serve the greater good of the galaxy. He paused, letting his words sink in. Usually by this point the local leaders were begging for mercy or trying to negotiate. You have 72 of your hours to comply. If you refuse, we will demonstrate why resistance is futile. Your choice is simple. Surrender and live as servants, or fight and die as fools. The transmission ended. Now came the waiting. In his long career, Vextar had seen every possible response to this ultimatum. Some species surrendered immediately, grateful that they would be allowed to live. Others tried to negotiate, offering tribute in exchange for independence. A few foolish ones attempted to fight, sending their tiny ships against the might of the hegemony fleet. All of them ended the same way, as new subjects of the empire. The humans' response came 6 hours later. A middle-aged man appeared on the screen, wearing simple clothes and speaking calmly. This is Administrator Guy of the New Busan Colonial Government. We have received your message and request 72 hours to consider our response. We will contact you when we have reached a decision. The transmission ended. Vextar stared at the blank screen for a moment, then began to laugh. Did you hear that? They want time to consider their response. Thelmos grinned. Some species need time to accept reality, sir. It makes no difference. In 3 days they will surrender or we will destroy them. But Quindal looked troubled. Sir, there was something strange about that human. He did not seem afraid. Fear will come, Vextar said. When they see what we can do to their pathetic defenses, they will understand their situation. The fleet marshal was wrong about many things, but he was especially wrong about the humans' level of technology. While his ships hung in space above New Busan, emergency signals raced through human space at speeds the hegemony could not detect. Deep in the outer system, something vast began to move. Something that had been waiting in the darkness for exactly this moment. The galactic hegemony was about to learn that humans were not primitive at all. They had simply been very, very careful about what they let others see. The emergency signal reached the UES Leviathan 37 minutes after Administrator G ended his transmission. Captain Juan was in his ready room, studying files about first contact protocols. When the urgent alarm sounded throughout the ship, he rushed to the bridge, where Commander Day was already coordinating with the night shift crew. The main screen showed a tactical display of the New Busan system, with 200 red dots surrounding the colony world like a swarm of angry insects. Report, Juan ordered as he took his command chair. Sir, the alien fleet has surrounded New Busan, Day said, his voice tight with controlled anger. They delivered an ultimatum to the colonists. Complete surrender in 72 hours or total destruction. Dr. Nari looked up from her science station, her face pale. Captain, I have been analyzing their communication. They called us primitives. They think we are helpless. How wrong they are, Engineer Baum said as she arrived on the bridge, still wiping grease from her hands. Sir, I have been monitoring their energy signatures. Their technology is actually quite old. Advanced, yes, but built on principles we abandoned 50 years ago. Captain Juan studied the display. Each alien ship was marked with its approximate size and power output. Even their largest vessels were less than half the size of the Leviathan. But there were so many of them. Baum, how do we compare to their fleet? He asked. The engineer smiled grimly. Sir, Our main reactor produces more energy than their entire fleet combined. Our smallest weapons could destroy their largest ship. And our defenses, she shook her head. Their weapons could not even scratch our paint. But they do not know that, Dr. Nari said. They think we are weak because that is what we wanted them to think. For over a century, humanity had followed a policy of careful expansion. They built their colonies on worlds far from the main space lanes. They kept their most advanced ships hidden in the outer darkness. When they encountered signs of other civilizations, they watched and learned but never revealed themselves. The Leviathan itself was proof of this policy. It had been built in the empty space between star systems, far from any world where aliens might detect the construction. Only a few dozen people in the entire galaxy knew it existed. Sir, Day said, New Busan's defensive fleet is moving to engage the aliens. 12 ships against 200. Juan closed his eyes for a moment. Those 12 ships carried brave human crews who would fight to protect their homes. But they were not warships. They were patrol boats and cargo haulers hastily fitted with weapons. They would die heroically and accomplish nothing. Send a coded message to the colonial fleet, he ordered. Tell them to stand down and wait for support. Tell them the cavalry is coming. Sir, Baum said, if we decloak and move to attack speed, we can reach New Busan in 18 hours. Do it. All stealth systems offline. I want the aliens to see us coming. The Leviathan had been floating dead in space for 3 days, its advanced cloaking systems making it invisible to normal sensors. Now as those systems shut down, the massive ship became visible to anyone with the right equipment. But the aliens were not looking in the right direction. Dr. Nari worked frantically at her station, trying to learn everything she could about the alien technology. Captain, their ships use directed energy weapons and particle shields. Very effective against most targets, but their design has a critical weakness. What weakness? Their shields are designed to stop fast-moving projectiles and energy beams. But our quantum weapons work differently. They disrupt the bonds that hold matter together. Their shields cannot stop that. Commander Day was coordinating with the hidden defense platforms scattered throughout human space. These platforms had been built in secret over many years, disguised as mining stations or communication relays. Each one carried weapons powerful enough to destroy entire fleets. Sir, Defense Platform 7 is requesting permission to engage, Day reported. They have a clear shot at the alien fleet. Negative, Juan said. If we use the platforms, the aliens will know we have been watching them for years. They will realize we are not as primitive as they think. I want them confident and careless when we arrive. Engineer Baum disappeared into the depths of the ship to prepare the weapon systems. The Leviathan carried armaments that existed nowhere else in human space. Some were so powerful they had never been tested at full strength for fear of damaging nearby star systems. The quantum cascade cannons could tear holes in reality itself. The adaptive defense grid could absorb incoming attacks and convert them into power for the ship's systems. And then there was the ship's most secret weapon, something so devastating that only Captain Juan and a handful of others knew it existed. As the hours passed, the Leviathan moved through space like a mountain flying between the stars. Its massive hull was dark against the cosmos, but inside, millions of people went about their daily lives. Children attended school while their parents worked to keep the great ship running. Most of them did not know they were heading into humanity's first war with aliens. Captain, Dr. Nari said, I have been studying the alien communications. They call themselves the Galactic Hegemony. They have conquered hundreds of worlds over thousands of years. This is what they do. They find young civilizations and force them to surrender. What happens to species that refuse to surrender? Juan asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. Complete destruction. No survivors. They have wiped out entire civilizations for refusing to submit. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. These aliens were not explorers or traders. They were conquerors who offered only slavery or death. Sir, Commander Day said quietly, the colonial fleet at New Busan is requesting orders. The alien deadline expires in 6 hours. Captain Juan looked at the tactical display one more time. 200 alien warships against 1 human vessel. By any reasonable calculation, it should be a massacre. The aliens probably thought it would be over in minutes. They were right about it being over quickly. They were just wrong about who would win. Open a channel to Administrator Guy on New Busan, Juan ordered. The administrator's worried face appeared on the screen. Behind him, other colonial officials could be seen working frantically. "Captain Juan," Guy said, relief obvious in his voice. "Thank the stars. Are you really coming to help us?" "We are 18 hours out," Juan replied. "Can you delay the aliens?" "I will try. But they seem very confident. They act like they have done this many times before." "They have, but they have never tried to conquer humanity. Tell them you need more time to evacuate your civilians. Tell them anything you need to tell them. Just keep them there until we arrive." "Understood. Captain, there are so many of them." 200 ships. "Are you sure you can handle them alone?" Captain Juan smiled grimly. "Administrator, these aliens think humans are primitive and weak. Tomorrow they will learn why that was a mistake. Keep your people safe. We are coming." The transmission ended. Around the bridge, the crew worked with quiet efficiency. They had trained for this moment their entire careers, even though they had never expected it to come. In the depths of the ship, Engineer Baum made final adjustments to the weapon systems. The quantum cascade cannons hummed with barely contained power. The adaptive armor plating shifted and flowed like living metal, preparing to absorb whatever the aliens could throw at it. The UES Leviathan flew through the darkness toward New Busan, carrying 3 million human souls and enough firepower to reshape the galaxy. In a few hours, two civilizations would meet in battle for the first time. Only one of them understood what was really about to happen. The 72-hour deadline expired at exactly 14:30 ship time. Fleet Marshal Vextar stood on his command bridge, watching the peaceful blue world of New Busan rotate slowly beneath his fleet. Administrator Guy had sent 3 more messages asking for additional time to evacuate civilians. But the Fleet Marshal was done with games. "All ships, prepare to demonstrate our power," Vextar commanded. "Target the orbital defense platforms first. We will show these humans what happens to those who keep the hegemony waiting." Battle Coordinator Thelmos rubbed his hands together with glee. "Sir, the humans have moved their pathetic little fleet into a defensive formation. 12 ships against our 200. Should we destroy them first?" "No," Vextar said coldly. "Let them watch. Let them see their defenses crumble before their eyes. Fear is a better teacher than death." The hegemony fleet powered up their weapon systems. Particle cannons that could melt mountains began to glow with deadly energy. Plasma torpedoes loaded into launch tubes. 200 warships prepared to rain destruction on the human colony. "Fire!" Vextar ordered. The alien weapons lit up the darkness of space. Beams of pure energy struck the human defense platforms with enough force to shatter asteroids. The platforms exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Their debris scattered across the orbital space around New Busan. Vextar smiled with satisfaction. The demonstration had worked perfectly. In less than 60 seconds, they had destroyed defenses that had probably taken the humans years to build. "Open communication with the planet," he commanded. "Let us see how quickly they surrender now." But before the communication could connect, something appeared on the edge of the sensor displays. Something that made every alarm on every ship start screaming at once. "Sir," the sensor operator said, his voice shaking. "There is a massive energy signature approaching from the outer system. It's enormous." Vextar spun toward the tactical display. A single contact was moving toward them, but the energy readings made no sense. According to the sensors, the approaching object was generating more power than his entire fleet combined. "What is it?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir. It's too far away for detailed scans, but the energy output is unlike anything in our databases." Sub-Admiral Quindal studied her own displays with growing concern. "Sir, the object is 15 kilometers long. That's larger than our entire flagship." "Impossible," Thelmos said. "Nothing that large could move through space. It would collapse under its own weight." But even as he spoke, the object continued to approach, and as it came closer, the hegemony sensors began to pick up more details. Details that made no sense at all. The approaching vessel was not just large, it was perfect. Its hull showed no signs of construction seams or external components. It moved through space with impossible grace for something so massive, and the energy signatures it was giving off suggested technology far beyond anything the hegemony had ever encountered. "Sir," the communications officer said, "we are receiving a transmission. It's coming from the approaching vessel." "Put it on screen," Vextar ordered, trying to keep the fear out of his voice. The image that appeared made every alien on the bridge step backward in shock. A human male looked out at them with calm, steady eyes. He wore a simple uniform with captain's insignia, and when he spoke, his words came in perfect hegemonic standard. "I am Captain Juan of the United Earthship Leviathan," the human said. "You have threatened human civilians. You have destroyed property belonging to the people of New Busan. You have one opportunity to withdraw your fleet and leave this system immediately." Vextar stared at the screen. The human knew their language. He spoke it better than some members of the hegemony itself. But that was impossible. The intelligence report said humans were primitive, barely capable of space travel. "How do you know our language?" Vextar demanded. Captain Juan's expression did not change. "We have been watching you for a very long time, Fleet Marshal Vextar. We know about your empire. We know about the worlds you have conquered, and the peoples you have enslaved. We know what you do to civilizations that refuse to surrender. Then you know resistance is futile," Vextar snarled. "Surrender now, and your people will be allowed to live as servants. Continue this foolishness and you will all die." "No," Captain Juan said simply. "You will leave or we will make you leave." The transmission ended. For a moment, the hegemony bridge was silent. Then Thelmos began to laugh. "One ship against our entire fleet? These humans are even more primitive than we thought. They do not understand basic mathematics." But Quindal was studying the sensor readings more carefully. "Sir, this ship is not showing up correctly on our scans. The energy output suggests technology we do not understand." "Impossible," Vextar said. "No single ship could threaten an entire fleet." "All vessels target the human ship. Fire when ready." The order went out across the hegemony fleet. 200 warships turned their weapons toward the approaching Leviathan. Particle cannons, plasma torpedoes, quantum disruptors, and gravity bombs all aimed at the lone human vessel. "Fire!" Vextar screamed. The combined firepower of the 7th Expansion Fleet lit up space like a newborn star. Enough energy to crack a planet's crust, lanced out toward the Leviathan in a concentrated barrage that should have vaporized any ship ever built. The weapons struck the human vessel and simply stopped. Every alien on every bridge stared in disbelief as their most powerful weapons struck the Leviathan's hull and accomplished nothing. The massive ship did not even slow down. It continued its approach as if nothing had happened. "Report!" Vextar shouted. "What happened to our weapons?" The sensor operator's voice was barely a whisper. "Sir, the weapons struck the target, but the energy was absorbed. The human ship is actually moving faster now. It's using our attacks to power its own systems. That's impossible." On the human ship, Dr. Nari calmly reported to Captain Juan. "Sir, the alien weapons are quite primitive. Our adaptive armor is converting their energy attacks into additional power for our systems. The quantum cascade reactors are now operating at 112% efficiency." Commander Day looked up from his tactical station. "Captain, request permission to return fire." Juan considered the request. His orders were clear. Use minimum necessary force to protect human lives and property. The aliens had destroyed the defense platforms and threatened civilians. They had also just attacked his ship with everything they had. Permission granted. Single warning shot only. "Understood, sir." Targeting the alien formation. Firing point defense laser. The Leviathan's smallest weapon activated. It was designed to destroy space debris and small asteroids that might threaten the ship during travel. Against the alien fleet, it was like using a surgical scalpel. A beam of pure quantum energy lanced out from the human ship. It passed through 17 hegemony vessels in a perfect line, each ship simply ceasing to exist as its molecular bonds dissolved. One moment they were there, proud warships of a galactic empire. The next moment there was nothing but empty space and scattered atoms. The remaining alien ships stopped firing. Across 183 bridges, crews stared in absolute terror at the destruction of their fellow vessels. The humans had just destroyed 17 ships with a single shot from what appeared to be their weakest weapon. Fleet Marshal Vextar felt something he had not experienced in 400 years of conquest. Pure, animal fear. The ship approaching his fleet was not just larger and more powerful than anything he had ever seen. It was so far beyond hegemony technology that the comparison was meaningless. "Sir," Quindal said quietly, "recommend immediate withdrawal." "No," Vextar whispered. "We are the galactic hegemony. We do not run from primitives." But even as he spoke, he knew the truth. These humans were not primitives at all. They were something else entirely. Something that had been hiding in the darkness, watching and waiting and learning. Captain Juan's voice filled every alien ship simultaneously. a feat that should have been impossible given their encrypted communication systems. "You have seen what our smallest weapon can do," the human said. "You have 1 minute to begin your withdrawal, or I will show you what our larger weapons can accomplish." In the depths of space, the UES Leviathan continued its approach toward the alien fleet. Its hull gleamed with absorbed energy from the aliens' failed attack. Its weapon systems hummed with power beyond imagination. The galaxy was about to change forever. 6 months after the Battle of New Busan, the galaxy was a different place. News of humanity's overwhelming victory had spread across thousands of worlds faster than any ship could travel. The story grew with each telling, but the basic facts remained the same. A single human vessel had destroyed 17 hegemony warships with one shot, and forced the mighty 7th Expansion Fleet to retreat in terror. Captain Juan stood in his ready room aboard the UES Leviathan, reading reports from across human space. The ship was no longer alone in the darkness. 4 more Titan-class vessels had emerged from their hidden construction sites, and Earth's shipyards were working around the clock to build more. Dr. Nari entered his office carrying a datapad filled with diplomatic messages. She looked tired but happy. For months, she had been working with alien scientists from dozens of species, sharing knowledge that had been impossible before. "Captain, we have received another request for protection," she said, setting the pad on his desk. "The Zalari Republic wants to join the Terran Protectorate. That makes 43 species that have asked for our help since New Busan." Juan nodded slowly. The Terran Protectorate had not been planned. It had simply happened as more and more worlds asked humanity for protection from the hegemony. What had started as a defensive alliance was becoming something much larger. "What about the hegemony?" he asked. "Still retreating toward their core worlds. Our intelligence reports say they have lost control of over 60 colonial systems. Some worlds declared independence the moment they heard about New Busan. Others are in open rebellion." Commander Day appeared in the doorway, looking pleased. "Sir, Counselor Yeon has arrived at the galactic capital. Her escort fleet is causing quite a stir." Counselor Yeon was Earth's first official ambassador to the galaxy. She was a small woman with a gentle voice, but she traveled with 5 Titan-class warships that made her the most powerful diplomat in galactic history. "Any problems?" Juan asked. "No, sir. The hegemony representatives tried to demand that we reduce our escort, but the other species told them to be quiet. Nobody wants to anger humanity right now." Juan smiled at that. Fear was not the foundation he wanted for human diplomacy, but it was keeping the peace while better relationships could be built. "Sir," Dr. Nari said, "there is something else. We have received a message from the edge of the galaxy. It appears to be a distress signal, but it is coming from very far away." "How far?" "Beyond the galactic rim. From the empty space between galaxies," Juan frowned. Nothing lived in the vast emptiness between galaxies. It was cold and dark and empty of everything except the occasional wandering star. "Are you sure it is a distress signal?" "The mathematics are clear. Someone or something is calling for help from the void between galaxies. And Captain, the signal is very strong. Whatever is sending it must be enormous." Day looked troubled. "Sir, if something that large is in distress, what could have threatened it?" That was a question Juan did not want to think about. The hegemony had seemed powerful until they met humanity. What if there was something out there that made humans look weak by comparison? "Keep monitoring the signal," he ordered, "and send a message to Earth Command. They need to know about this." Over the following weeks, the distress signal grew stronger. Analysis showed that whatever was sending it was moving toward the galaxy at incredible speed. It would arrive within a year, maybe less. Ambassador So arrived from the new Galactic Congress with more news. The Congress was humanity's idea, a place where all species could send representatives to solve problems with words instead of weapons. It was working better than anyone had hoped. "Captain," So said, "the Congress has voted to name humanity as the official peacekeepers of the galaxy. Every species except the hegemony voted yes, and they do not have much of a vote anymore." "What does that mean exactly?" Juan asked. "It means when there are disputes between worlds, they call us instead of starting wars. It means when pirates attack trade ships, we hunt them down. It means we are responsible for keeping the peace in a galaxy with over 10,000 inhabited worlds." Juan felt the weight of that responsibility. Humanity had spent over a century hiding in the shadows, building their strength in secret. Now they were being asked to police an entire galaxy. "Can we do it?" he asked. We will have to, So replied. Because the alternative is letting the galaxy tear itself apart. Engineer Baum had been working with alien scientists to understand their technology. Most of it was centuries behind human development. But some species had made discoveries that humans had missed. Captain, she reported, the Crystalline Collective has shared their research on dimensional engineering. Combined with our quantum cascade technology, we might be able to build ships even larger than the Titans. How much larger? 50 kilometers long. Maybe more. We could build entire cities that can travel between star systems. The idea was staggering. Ships large enough to hold entire populations, powerful enough to protect whole sectors of space. With vessels like that, humanity could truly guarantee peace across the galaxy. But first, they had to deal with whatever was approaching from beyond the galactic rim. Grand Admiral Sewell arrived at the Leviathan with news that made everyone nervous. Earth's deep space monitoring stations had detected something troubling about the approaching signal. Captain, we know what is coming, Sewell said grimly. It is a ship. The largest ship we have ever detected. Our best estimates say it is over 200 kilometers long. 200 kilometers? Juan repeated. That is not a ship. That is a flying city. Yes. And it is not alone. Our sensors show at least 50 similar vessels approaching from the void. They appear to be refugees from another galaxy, fleeing from something that destroyed their home. Dr. Nari looked up from her data analysis. Captain, if these beings had to flee their entire galaxy, what were they running from? That question kept Juan awake at night. Something had driven an advanced civilization from their home galaxy and sent them fleeing across the empty void between stars. Soon, those refugees would arrive at the edge of the Milky Way, bringing with them whatever knowledge had kept them alive during their long journey. A year later, the refugee fleet arrived. The meeting took place in empty space beyond the galactic rim, with the UES Leviathan and 4 other Titan-class ships representing humanity. The alien refugees called themselves the Exodus, and their leader was an ancient being named Keeper Talden. When she appeared on the communication screen, her words chilled everyone who heard them. We greet you, guardians of this galaxy, she said in a voice like distant thunder. We bring warning of what follows behind us. In our home galaxy, something awakened, something old and hungry and vast. It consumed our worlds one by one until only we remained to flee. What was it? Captain Juan asked. We called them the Devourers. They are not alive as you understand life, but they are intelligent. They consume matter and energy to grow larger and stronger. They turned our entire galaxy into food, and now they seek new galaxies to devour. How long until they arrive here? Perhaps 1,000 of your years. Perhaps less. They are slow but relentless. Nothing can stop them except, perhaps, at you. Keeper Talden looked directly at Captain Juan through the screen. We have watched your species from afar during our approach. You defeated the hegemony with ease. You have technology we do not understand. You might be the first species with the power to stand against the Devourers. Juan felt the weight of an entire galaxy settling on his shoulders. Humanity had become the protectors of the Milky Way almost by accident. Now they faced a threat that had destroyed an entire galaxy. We will need time to prepare, he said. Time you have, Talden replied. We will share our knowledge with you. Everything we learned about the Devourers during our long flight. Together, perhaps we can build defenses that will hold when they arrive. As the transmission ended, Juan looked around the bridge of the Leviathan. His crew had faced the unknown before and won. They had turned humanity from a hidden species into the guardians of galactic peace. Now they faced their greatest challenge yet, preparing for a war against beings that had consumed an entire galaxy. Set. Course for Earth, he ordered. We have work to do. The UES Leviathan turned toward home, carrying news that would change the course of galactic history. Behind them, the refugee fleet began its journey toward the worlds of the Terran Protectorate, where they would find safety among the beings who had become the galaxy's unexpected guardians. In the depths of space, other Titan-class vessels received their orders and began moving toward the galactic rim. Humanity would have 1,000 years to prepare for the arrival of the Devourers. It would have to be enough.